you doing today? This
I'm doing
afternoon.
okay. How are you? Here we are
Oh,
in the home of
yeah.
the Maccabees.
Ah, I'm about worn out. This is the fifth teaching slash broadcast slash whatever you want to figure it out as. This is my
Uh,
fifth one in 24 hours, and I've got one more to do as soon as I get off of this with you. So, yeah, I'm going to do. I have a great imitation of a radish that I do. And so I'm planning on going to that mode here in just a little while. But hey,
uh,
enough of that. What's happening in
okay.
the home country there?
Okay. Number of things to touch upon. Let's try to get the bigger items out of the way, and we'll see what interesting discussion develops. Um, it appears fairly certain that America is about to conclude a deal with Iran.
Hmm.
That's been in all the media here.
Yeah,
It's not an official agreement, so the Biden administration doesn't have to bring it to the U.S. Congress. But it appears to be kind of like a wink and a nudge. You agree not to do this, I agree not to do that, and we're going to lift sanctions and free billions of dollars to Iran again.
mm,
So this is totally destabilizing. It totally undercuts us here in Israel. And every one of those dollars winds up being used for missiles,
yeah,
IEDs, and the support of terrorism. So it's astounding. At
yeah,
the same time, whenever Israel has to do an operation to arrest wanted terrorists, and a firefight ensues with the local terrorists who are attempting to support the terrorists, obviously, not us. And there are civilian casualties. The American government, including the ambassador here, Nides, makes these absurd statements
oh, yeah,
with a moral equivalency between quote unquote all civilian casualties. So you've got terrorists in a place like Jenin firing willy nilly, and some local Arab, could be a child even, who refer to themselves as Palestinians, is wounded or killed. In American eyes, that's the same thing as walking and shooting Jewish men, women, and children.
hmm,
Or I mean, it's America is so off the moral compass.
yeah.
It's
It is.
staggering.
It
It's
is.
it's really it's really staggering. Um, and it appears I was reading a number of interesting military analysis opinion pieces that it appears as Israel is getting more and more serious about striking Iran. That's
Mm,
why America wants to kind of preempt it at this point.
okay.
And I wouldn't be at all surprised if the idea is to shift that occurring to a future American administration. In other
Mm,
words, I'm going to take it out of the realm of it being my problem, but I'm not going to be in office forever.
yeah.
So whoever it is in the Biden administration that's making these decisions, and I say it that way because clearly this bumbling, stumbling guy is not the decision maker. I mean, I'm not the first one to make that observation.
Yeah.
Um, it's unsettling. It's very
Yeah.
unsettling, but it proves that, when push comes to shove, it's going to be Israel and Israel alone.
Yeah,
We
no
know
doubt. I mean, that's and what you just quoted is what the scripture says, that all
absolutely.
nations shall turn against Israel, against Jerusalem. Even, I was listening to in my driving yesterday, I happened to listen to Fox News and the broadcast, top of the hour, bottom of the hour, whatever it was. I heard the thing about Jenin, and it is amazing to me the spin of the media. Of course, it was civilians killed in the occupied West Bank. Now, there's about at least 14 things that I could say wrong with just those few words. The spin that they have, and that's all people hear in this country right now. That's all that they're hearing. What I have a question for you is in your interaction with Israelis, it has been assumed through the years, the last administration going back. Um, there were even people that believed that Bill Clinton was standing with Israel, which I question that. Um, but it was always the thought that America would always stand with Israel. Is that sentiment changing there?
It changed a long time ago.
Okay.
There is no doubt that, I mean, America may be our best friend, but that shows that we have social difficulties. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
Well,
that's a
I
good
mean,
point.
I'll give you a corollary. Our best friend in Europe. Now, if I ask the average American supporter of Israel, and by the way, using the terminology American supporter of Israel, I
Yeah,
preclude most of my co-religionists in the United States. Who's Israel's greatest supporter? Most would guess England, the United Kingdom. The reality is it's Germany.
yeah,
Germany is our best friend, our largest trading partner in Europe, and we sell defense technologies back and forth. Our Dolphin submarines, which contain a second or third strike nuclear capacity, that are sitting somewhere outside of Iran right now, fully armed to the teeth, we bought from Germany.
wow,
And Germany is buying defense technologies from us. Um, Anyone who has faith that America is going to bail us out, I don't know how you can ignore Iraq, Afghanistan, and so many other places in the
yeah,
world.
yeah,
It's kind of scary that people would count on America. I mean, us Israelis. Um, I really I listened to Biden, I listened to Blinken, I listened to Ambassador Nides, and it's like, idiot's delight. I mean, really.
yeah. It is. It is. So let's take it down to the our individual place here. I think sometimes in the United States, the what I see is that the news used to at least report more about Israel. Right now, there are so many things that are going on here that there's really no time in the or interest in the schedule for news
No,
reports of what's going on there. So we have to once again do as you've said, check the sites, Arut Sheva, Jerusalem Post, and various ones that you have
why not?
mentioned.
Yes.
um, but then there's this active beyond that. Um, so
Sure.
you said you had some ideas,
Some
and some
thoughts.
of them are
Yeah.
probably things we've already discussed. But
Yeah.
what can a person do today that does not have unlimited resources?
Right.
That does, that maybe in their own thoughts they're like, maybe in like Winchester, Kentucky, which there's not a lot going on there, it doesn't seem. Or what can a
It's
person
not a
do?
booming metropolis like places that we know, like
Yeah, like Franklin.
Gloucester, Virginia, or Franklin, North
Yeah,
Carolina.
yeah.
By the way, did you see my shirt today?
Oh,
It's from Cherokee.
okay, yeah. And you're wanting to go back and get another shirt?
Actually, having cleaned out my closets recently, it's amazing. T-shirts don't wear out as quickly as you would like.
Hmm.
And there were shirts that I remember buying before coming on Aliyah because I would never be able to get the shirt again. Well, September will make that 14 years old. I mean, I guide people that are younger. than my shirts.
Than your shirts. Yes, I
Yeah.
got that. So, all right. So, what can a
Okay.
person sitting in a relatively small area, not a lot of in their mind, not a lot of
Perfect.
influence, what can a person do?
Okay. First of all, I have to use a quote from my teacher, Rav Kahana,
Mhm.
Hashem Yikam Damo, Hashem should avenge his blood. Rav Kahana, just reminding our listeners, was murdered by Al Qaeda in 1990 in New York, which was prior to the first World Trade Center bombing.
Mhm.
Okay. This is a quote I just posted on Facebook. I'm pretty sure you saw it, Mike. In every generation, there are a few that understand. Always understand, even if you remain among the few. So that's rule number one. You really have to understand what's going on. So, okay. So someone's going to say, all right, that must mean what Mike just said about looking on the Israeli news.
Mhm.
That's only part of it. I mentioned this, I believe, twice over the last 2 weeks. You spend an enormous amount of time and effort coming up with all kinds of podcasts. It's time that our most faithful followers, those that really look to you, they need to be your faithful listeners, and they need to then share that with friends and relatives. And I'm sorry to kind of focus it, kind of laser focus in on you. I hope I'm not making you uncomfortable, Mike. But that's one element. Number two, I'm coming to the US in less than a month.
Mhm.
This presentation, in a sense similar to my last presentation, is focused on information about Israel to clarify things in people's minds. I want to clarify terms like the occupation, the settlements,
Ah,
really, really help people have a better understanding when they read the news or when they get into a discussion, either within their church or within their community or amongst family members.
mhm.
So, information, the idea creates a revolution. Now, in listening to a number of our previous broadcasts, actually, let's say over the last year, there are two names that come up very often. There are
Yeah.
the Connors. And by the way, as of last week, there's another Connor, yet another Connor. We're not going to talk about that. And we've spoken about our dear friend, Jessica Elam
Yeah.
in Winchester, Kentucky. So now we get to pick on Jessica again because she's coming from a congregation that has not traditionally made going to Israel a priority.
Yeah.
Okay. They're not against Israel, certainly not.
No,
Certainly not. And that
absolutely not.
congregation always looked to create a bridge with the nearest Jewish community, which I believe was in Louisville. Still might be. Anyway, make a long story short, Jessica had neither the resources nor the background to think that she could be part of the Connect to Israel tour.
Yeah.
And she said she was going to do it. And she has found a variety of part-time jobs and fundraising events. And from her going, it became 3 at Beit Menorah. And from
Mhm.
3 at Beit Menorah, we're currently standing at 5.
Yeah.
5. There's only one other time that we have had more, excuse me, 2 other times. No, one other time that we've had more than 5 people from one congregation.
Yeah. Life Assembly.
Well, okay, besides Life Assembly.
Yeah.
Okay, because you've got the home court advantage.
Yeah.
So it's a sense of people saying, it's the classic cliche. If you want to do something you've never done, if you want to be somewhere, if you want to
Mhm.
accomplish something, you've got to do things that you've never done before.
Yeah.
So people have to realistically say, okay, I am now totally outside the box. What can I do for Israel? And I'm coming up with a number of suggestions. And I think back to experiences that I've either heard about or personally witnessed. The Yom Kippur War in 1973 broke out. I had just come back from my first trip to Israel. And, many people say, oh, you must have come back on fire to want to go on Aliyah, move to Israel. 1973, I was just turning 17, starting college. And honestly, I wasn't. I wasn't on fire to go live in Israel. I wanted to have a girlfriend. I mean, this is, I'm starting college. I want to have a girlfriend. This is okay. Yom Kippur War breaks out. That's what got me involved in Jewish activism. And as I like to tell people, because it's kind of funny now to talk about it, by the time I was 20, I had already been arrested on 3 different continents, all for peaceful things.
Mhm.
But the Yom Kippur War broke out and Israel was on the ropes. My grandmother, Aleh Shalom, a blessed memory, did not have money. We ourselves were relatively poor. She lived across the hall from us. We shared everything we had. Grandma didn't have 2 nickels to rub together, but she liked to crochet. So she, like many Jewish immigrants to America, belonged to what's called in Yiddish a Landsmannschaft, a kind of like a local hometown, kind of like alumni of Jacksonville high schools, kind of
Yeah.
like from the old country. She went and brought these crocheted pillow covers that she had made, for them to auction them off
Hmm.
to raise money. When there used to be rallies in New York, there were people that would go and do what we call flagging. They would take an Israeli flag and they'd go and people would throw in, dollars, $5, $10, $20 and raise money. I think we have people, our listeners, there must be people out there that either play cards, play mahjong, do something. They should have a little can, and for every time they have this get together, it could be like a sewing circle, or it could be a weekly Torah study, Bible study, whatever it is. Pass around the little can, everybody contributes $1. There's no one that we know that doesn't have $1.
Yeah. Well, it's when going back to Jessica, uh, here's I'm dealing with the tour right now, trying to put everything together. Some of our final touches, we've got 2 slots available, and possibly those are already taken up. So, but here's a person that did not have the resources at all.
Nope,
Did not have enough resources to be able to dream about the possibility of going, and
absolutely not.
to mention one of our favorite people around, Sarah Connor is the one that began to bake challah bread and various things and raise the money for her to go to Israel, and that act then became that
Inspiration.
allowed Jessica
Yeah.
to start to dream about her being able to go. And so, it may be that somebody doesn't have any funds. You just don't have the funding, and we all have limited resources, right?
Okay. Other suggestions that don't require a single dollar or even a
Yeah.
shekel. Write to your elected representatives in the
Hmm.
state that you live in.
Yeah.
And if people are saying, well, what do I write about? Do you know what? Dash off a note to Mike or myself. And that's what should I say about, Secretary of State Blinken's latest whatever, or President Biden said whatever, or President Harris, because again, if you're talking about Biden, he
Yeah.
thinks Kamala Harris is the president. Use, it's think globally
Mhm.
when you're voting locally.
Yeah.
These are your representatives. You know, there is advocacy that you can do. People say, well, I'm not articulate. Well, you know what? There's enough published material out there. And if
Oh,
you
yeah.
want me to send you articles, write me a note
Yeah.
saying, no, can you send me an article explaining why Judea and Samaria are not
Yeah.
to be considered occupied?
Well, and by the way, the best person to send that email to is Hanok, not me. But just consider Hanok your
I was being
AI.
inclusive. I was being inclusive.
Yeah, I know, I know. Just consider Hanok your AI composer. Okay, Hanok, Mr. Artificial Intelligence himself, right? Can
Hey, I just love the term intelligent being mentioned in the same sentence with my
there you
name.
go,
So
there you
I'm
go.
fine.
The other thing is to share the broadcast, share news articles, share things that are positive about Israel. Share when Israel is coming out with. I saw the other day the possibility of a something that would eradicate skin cancer.
Yeah,
Share
amazing.
articles like that are in a positive sense to family members, to people around you. The people can send this broadcast, this video that we do, send it out. Well, they may not like me. Okay, whatever. You
Oh,
may find
it's
somebody.
it's okay not being liked.
Yeah, yeah, we got that.
I've been doing this for a lifetime.
And but here's the attitude. A lot of times, Hanok, and this is not a negative thing. It's just a people thing. Well, I don't have anybody that I can influence. Well, that takes us to this week's Torah portion, where Aaron himself. I mean, not the when Moses says to Aaron, "Hey, run over to the altar." Okay, the boy's somewhere in his 90s plus. He's like the least likely to be the one running.
Aye.
He says, run over to the altar, get a coal from the altar, and stand. And what did he do? He did that. He stood between the living and the dead. Can one man, one woman make a difference in someone's life? Yes, I point you to Sarah Connor. I
Yeah.
point you to hundreds of people that I have met through the years that have done something that they just decided, I'm tired of looking at myself as a non influential person. I am going to influence someone. And you don't know, there's no way to tell who they might be. You may be influencing the influencer.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt, we continually underestimate ourselves and we put Israel up on this kind of like distant pedestal, like,
Yeah.
near the moon. Like, I would love to get there, but it's just not possible. I mean,
Yeah.
gee, I'm not going to be an astronaut. And it's like, come on, guys.
Yeah. Well, the other aspect is this week's Torah portion for us. I know you guys are a week ahead of us, but Korach is one that
Yeah.
speaks very, very clearly to me about so many things that, when it comes down to it, the Torah portion is not about that Korach was questioning Moshe's leadership or abilities or any of those things. What it came down to is that Korach did not want to move forward into the promise of entering the land. So this week's Torah portion is about the land. And the other thing that a person can make a decision in their own life, I refuse to listen to, I refuse to share broadcasts. I refuse to talk about those whose whose focus is not the land. It's like, well, they, they don't talk against Israel, so I guess, by default they must be kind of talking for it. So no, you either are proactive regarding the land or you're not.
It really comes down to that, that exact point.
Yeah, because
Uh,
when you stand on the wrong side of the line in the sand, that didn't work out too good for Korach's bunch.
well, it's also Korach had the sense that he should be the leader.
Yeah.
And I cannot tell you how many congregations I've spoken at. Eh, by the way, this summer will be 10 years since I began traveling back to the US speaking to
Mm,
groups across the country. 10 years. And in those 10 years, I've seen so many congregations split because there was someone that sat in the third row for 6 months and then decided that he wanted to be first online for Oneg, that he should be the pastor, the teacher, the roeh, the shepherd, whatever, whatever term,
yeah.
is in vogue at that moment. And we don't have enough people with the idea of being an Eved Hashem, a servant of Hashem.
Yeah.
Someone saying, what can I do to help? I mean, you and I should be inundated with comments and requests
Yeah.
from people saying, you already gave us the idea of giving money to plant trees in Israel. You've already told us about volunteering for Hayovel. You've already, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But we should be, I don't want to say confronted, gently confronted with what else can I be doing? What else, what
Mhm.
books can I have my sons and daughters read so they can have a better understanding of what this is about?
You mentioned Hayavel. Let me go to Tommy and Sherry and the whole Waller family, and everybody that's now involved in all of that are very dear friends of mine. When it comes down to volunteering in Israel, now I do know that there are other areas that do some work in Israel, but with that being said, I there's probably one other organization that does a lot of good work, and I'm not going to mention them right now. But on the top of my very short list of where to volunteer in Israel is Hayavel for many reasons. Number one is I see them doing the greatest influence in Israel, having the greatest impact in Israel, and you can go there and come back with a testimony of something that maybe other people are going to want to be a part of. There's
Right.
a lot of organizations and places that you can go, but it's probably not going to speak to someone else about
That's very
uh
true.
about them wanting to go. When you start talking about the work that Hayavel is doing in Israel, it's like other people can go, I could do that. It's like-minded people. You don't have to have you don't have to know Hebrew. You don't even have to know what the word Torah means to go over and be a part of what that is.
Oh,
And you never know what may change in a person's life because you put them in the right. There's a lot of good places to go, but then there's the ones that are going to be of most influence in your life and through your life, and that's why Hayavel is on top of my list.
yeah. It's interesting when you mention about a focus on Israel and dealing with people with the same focus. Um, on a tour that I was doing a week ago, um, I was asked the question, so what are your hobbies? We're getting to know each other, I said, my hobby is promoting Israel. So no, that's what you do professionally.
Yeah.
So I said, but that's my hobby. It's my profession. It's what inspires me. It's what is the reason that Hashem allows me to get up today and with his help tomorrow as well.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing.
Yeah, I got that. I got that. All right, Hanok. Well, I've got another broadcast to do, so I've got to get this one online. And yeah, radish time is coming. It's not too far
something to
off.
look forward to.
Yeah, it is. It is, no doubt about that. But and I get the great honor of being at Revive next week with a bunch of
Great.
amazing young people.
Wonderful. Have a blast.
Yeah. Well, I'll talk to you again before then.
Light some souls on fire.
You got it, man. All right.
Take care. Love and hugs. Bye-bye.